my first Exeter Pride was actually last year, so 2022. And I attended because it was only really, I only had come out as queer in the last sort of few years. So I had gradually been, attending Pride events that I could make. And so I realized, I haven't done Exeter yet, and we just moved to the area, and I'm really, really glad I went. I think the main thing that I think about a lot is taking photos of the event helped for sure, because like you get to relive it all. Just like how big it was, because living in the Southwest, there are Pride events, but obviously bigger cities tend to get the funding and the audience, and there's a lot of us who can't necessarily always afford to travel further afield to go to these events. So I had kind of resigned myself to just thinking that, a lot of the events I would go to would be fun regardless, but like much smaller affairs. And seeing this massive parade and just how many people were in the crowd and in the parade and all of the stalls and everything. And it was just really like, it blew my mind. Just seeing how many people there were, like, it was just so like, it was reassuring, I think, because when you live in a part of the country that has a smaller population, so naturally probably a smaller queer community, to see those numbers physically represented it's very validating, I think. And probably the a more personal, specific memory was I saw another fellow individual who also had visible top surgery scars, and that was it was one of my first times being out in public with my top surgery scars on show. And to a lot of my friends, I'm like the only trans masculine person that they know. And so it was nice to see another person like myself, because I don't see a lot of people like myself, particularly with maybe my build or with the specific procedure that I had done, represented like in the media or in general, let alone actually seeing somebody in person. And I think like we saw each other and we just shared like a knowing like nod, and that was really nice. And it was just, it's just little things like that, like actually seeing physical representation right in front of you rather than just numbers on a page. It's a different experience altogether. But I think there's just something so like personal and special. I know that's cheesy, but like seeing it in your hometown, places like the Southwest, which are often overlooked or forgotten about compared to other parts of the country, seeing how many people had come together for this event was really nice. It was really nice to just see not just how many different activities and, acts and stalls there were, but just how many people there were, and everyone was just obviously having a nice time. And like just seeing like little gaggles of like teenagers with like they're wearing their like pride flags as capes, and I'm thinking they can't be older than like 13 or 14. And just already like, even if they discover more about themselves as they're older, just them having an idea at that young an age, to me was so mind-blowing, because when I was 14 I did not have a grip on like anything like that at all. Seeing a 14-year-old teenager proudly wearing a lesbian flag or an agender flag or something like that, seeing them have what to them at the time is such a clear-cut idea of their identity, even if it is only in that moment or if that continues to be that. Them knowing that and just having that community, because seeing them walking around holding hands in groups of 3 and having friends who get them and support them, like that's amazing. I think Exeter Pride is for anyone it needs to be for. I think like if you are an ally to the community and you want to show your support, then by all means come along. I think some people think I'm not queer, but like I want to show my support, and they think, oh, I'm not allowed. I'm like, of course you're allowed. Like if you're being respectful and you're realizing that this is a time to uplift voices that were previously like silenced. I also think, even if people don't identify as queer, but they have another example of like being discriminated against, and they can empathize with the plight of what queer folks have had to go through. I think it's for them to realize like, this group of people, we are rising up, we are showing that we can persevere and that we're not going away, as much as some small groups of society are always going to tell us that they want us to. We're not going away. We've always been here, and we're going to continue to be here. And I think that as a message, as a broad message, not even pertaining to just the queer community, but I think that as a message is something that everyone needs to hear, because there is always going to be a group that someone is part of or that someone is aware of that they know is going through that. There's still a long way to go. Obviously, like, there are always going to be people who are telling us that they don't want us around. And so we, you know, for the people who are out in the sticks, who maybe don't have the same kind of active voices to stand up for them, we're representing them. We're providing voices for the people who don't have a voice or want to have a voice but have no one to speak it to. Because if a lot of people are on the internet now, if the word gets out about a Pride event, someone's in the middle of nowhere, and they read just a little bit about an event like that can be all they need, because it's a glimmer of hope. And and even if the world gets progressive enough that people don't really give a damn anymore, it doesn't change the fact that queer history as it stands, it's going to continue to be queer history. It doesn't change the fact that we still lost so many generations of people because of how they were treated at the time. And so to not continue on that tradition, it would be snuffing out those voices.